time, doesn't it?
These were generally called London barrows, not mainly because they were actually used in London, but London being the capital city of our country, they were used mainly in large towns and cities. It wasn't a barrow that you would push around country lanes. Remember, it was mud and dirt and ruts. They weren't tarmac metal road like we know them today.
Yes.
So they were just used in the cities.
Yeah.
Some of the big coach builders and carriage works and wagon works, such as the Bristol Wagon Works, they'd have perhaps 50 or 60 of these, and they would hire them out. So you would get yourself down to Bristol and want to do some grinding. I think they were about £half a day or something like this to hire out and go. Basic principle, it's a pedal drive.
Can we actually see it in action here? Let's
swing the seat round.
Let's see how it would have worked in the old days.
They do come in various sorts of shapes and sizes. With a lot of these sort of things, there's hardly two the same, but a lot of principles are much the same. There we are, two wheels, of course, one there and a finer one here. And there's the action. Just on the old Pitman crank.
Yeah.
And away we go. It's running dry, they're not running in water. As I know, I'm using modern wheels. Stainless steel carving knife. Pop my glasses on and I can see what I'm doing here. There we go.
And there's the old grinding taking place.
And there's the old grinding taking place and go.
And you still find, Robin, presumably, as you go around, that there is still a demand for this kind of work then?
Yes, indeed. I've got my regular customers.
In the West Country?
Right through the West Country. I work from this Dorset coast, through bottom end of Dorset into Somerset, over to the opposite coast, to the Bristol Channel coast. So I'm literally coast-to-coast operative, as it were.
And you're obviously providing a valuable service.
Valuable service. Lots of small garages have closed that used to do this work in the villages years ago. Hardware stores, very few do that now. And people now find it difficult to get things sharpened up.
Of course.
And of course, I do it virtually on their doorstep. So they don't have to make phone calls, they don't have to drive, they don't have to think about it much. They just hand it to me and later on.
There's some marvellous brass work on here as well, isn't there?
There is some lovely old brass.
Is this the original brass?
No, it's not. I made this brass, but it was taken from a photograph of an old grinding barrel that was believed to be in the family for some years. And typical, that would have been the top of perhaps a clock or an ornament or something. This, of course, is a bed knob.
This, this one here?
That's a bed knob.
That's a bed knob,
They were on the end of the beds. They were always favoured by the old grinders. And, of course, just a bit of fancy flash covers that protects the wheels in it. It looks good. There's horse brasses. There's from the horse harness.
Yeah. Are these, is that on the front there? Is that a devil I see?
That is the Lincoln Imp. Now, he's carved in stone.
Oh, it's an imp?
Yes,
right.
in Lincoln Cathedral. Now, the old stone carvers, nobody's really sure, as I understand, quite why the Lincoln Imp is up there. But, of course, the old stonemasons, when they were building these cathedrals, they weren't of the religion as we know it. They had their own sort of pagan religions, and this is why these old gargoyle-type, ugly old things with horns on were all tied up with this pagan religion. And because of this, they were allowed to chase into the stone something of their own belief. And it wasn't frowned upon. And of course the master mason did this, and that's more or less the reason. Now that was given to me by a blacksmith in the Wiley Valley, and the lady went into his workshop. She'd bought a cottage in the village and had it renovated.
Yeah.
And then she had a housewarming. And a friend came along and gave her a set of fire irons, and that was the handle of the poker.
Oh, right.
And she was lady of God, I suppose. She was in her beliefs, and she wouldn't have it because it got horns. So she went into the blacksmith and she said, right, you cut this off for me. And he said, that's the Lincoln Imp. It's in Lincoln Cathedral. She said, I don't care where it is. It's got horns on and it's not coming into my house. So he sawed it off. She said, no, I don't want it. You can have it. And he said, well, I know somebody who'll have it. He said, when he comes along. So surely enough, during the year, I pops along and he comes out and said, Robin, I got something for you. Ferrets about in the box, and comes out with our friend. So there and then, in the village, I got a brass screw and screwed him on. I said, well, the devil or not, he can sit there for the rest of my life and watch me work and frown upon me if I'm a bad fellow.
So he can keep an eye on you as you go around the West Country.
That's right. And that's the true story of the old imp. All the brass tells a story.
Yeah. What's the significance, Robin, of this? If we can just move around to the front here, what's the significance of this this holder, and this saw?
Right, saw voice. I am a saw doctor. Originally, I was a woodworker by trade, and I sharpened all my own saws, and now I do it for customers. Now, this is part of the old original carpenter's kit. Yeah. Very simple. It's a saw vise. You put the saw between the chops, as they're called. Slide them in place.
And these are called chops.
Chops. Yeah, the whole thing is a saw vise, but these two actual strips that holds the saw now there, they are called chops. Now then there goes the saw in there like that, and he's sprung down in there. Now he's ready for filing, and with a saw file now we sharpen the saw.
And how do you do it? Do you saw each individual tooth?
That's right. There's 4. Let me get some kit out. I think I got lurking in here. Right. There's an important tool. And in here we've got some saw files.
Are these original tools here from going back to?
The saw files don't last very long. The busier, the more you do. You can see I've got some modern stuff in here with the new plastic type handles. And a selection of files, as you can see. Different types, different cuts for different saws. A saw like that, when we'd use a file something like this, it'll sharpen perhaps 4 or 5 saws, and then you throw it away, and they're around about £11 each now.
Yeah.
So it's not a cheap job anymore. Right, here we go.
So we've got a handy little box there to keep everything in.
Box underneath there, keep it all in and keep it safe. Right, what do you do? Now that particular saw, there's 10 teeth to an inch. I know that straight away without counting it. Now I set my saw set, as it's called. This is again a fairly modern one. It's got numbers on. There we are. There's number 10, and I set that on the anvil and press in. And each tooth that goes away from you, you put him on and you press him. Bang.
All right.
You can see slight movement in there. Now that is setting the saw. Now you go all the way down, and you turn him round, and you do the other one. So you've got your saw then looks like that. Saw teeth.
Because presumably, when a saw gets used in sawing wood, sawing trees or whatever, it tends to get a bit knocked out, doesn't it, I suppose?
They slowly, they'll go back and go flat again.
Yeah.
And then, of course, what we do, we set him up, and then each tooth is filed at around about, you're talking around about 17 degrees there, and you go 3 strokes. Every other tooth. 2, 3. Then you miss one, and then you go again. You see?
Oh, yes.
Now,
and that sharpens it back up.
When we've gone all the way down that way, we turn him around and we go back the other way. Then each tooth then is sharpened up with a point on.
You've got some hammers here as well, I see.
Yes. Oh, yeah. Yeah. That's my African spanner. Very useful piece of kit, actually. Yeah. Repairs. I've got to do repairs, take things apart, obviously send the old adjustable spanner and pliers. Bit of our old faithful stuff in here to keep things clean. Wire brush, steel, wood, gauges, more files and bits and pieces all around. All very useful parts of that.
These lamps are very interesting. Are these originals, or did you pick these up from someone?
I picked those up. It took me many years of hunting and scourging around to find a pair of small lamps. You can get old original lamps, and of course you can get new replica lamps, but a lot of them were all the wrong size. They're either too small or too large for the carriages. And I found them and picked them up in a second-hand shop. Yeah. And gradually, as I say, the old barrel was created.
Pair of horses' heads as well?
Yes. Oh, that goes back. That was when I was horse-drawn, back in the old days when we actually worked and pulled our living van with the horses. And so I always favour the horse, and always a great affinity for the horse. Yeah. And of course, it just adds something. It's decoration, because us travelling fellows, we do like our brass and our bright paintwork and things that are all nice and shiny and things that are alive.
Something else has caught my eye as well, Robin, and I must have a little tinkle. Is the
have a go and have a little tinkle.
Is the little bell here? Would that have been to have just told people in the street that you were there?
Yeah, either announce the fact that I'm coming or warn them to lock up their washing and their bicycles. Grinders on the move, look out. Yeah, generally you give it all a ring, and then not so much now. More in the older days when you didn't have the noise and the traffic, and the people actually lived in villages on a permanent basis every day, sort of thing. But yeah, it's the old grinder's bell. You announce your arrival and that you're working.
Robin, I must ask you, this is a very, very unusual living, bearing in mind that, you know, sort of knife grinding was originally around back in the sort of 1800s. Why do you do it?
I love the work. I love the travelling life. It's a part of me. I thoroughly enjoy it. I'm in the open air, I'm working and I'm on the move. I can't keep still. I've got wheels on my feet. To work in a factory, and it's not me. I can't do it. I like to be out and working and travelling. I always want to move on a few days here and a few days there and move on again. I suppose it's in the blood. And I thoroughly enjoy the work. And meeting so many people and travelling around, it's just such a wonderful life.